So in this week's episode, I was joined by Roy, the owner-operator of Zen Den in Tenerife. Roy also runs events on the island. We talked through what it means to be a digital nomad, a remote worker, or just a workcationer, and getting set up on the island if you wanted to work remotely from Tenerife. As you know, Tenerife is a sunny destination all year round, so it's a great place to get away from those cold winter nights or, spend the summer. This episode was brought to you by Top Drawer Talent, the supply chain procurement recruitment specialist. Here we go.
So today I'm joined by Roy, who is the owner of Zen Den Coworking in Tenerife in Costa Decky. So thanks for coming on today, Roy. Much appreciated.
No problem.
I suppose, what's the reason you decided to kind of set up a business and relocate to Tenerife in the first place?
To be honest, I actually stumbled upon it all. I had a very corporate job in London. I was spending half my time between New York and the UK, and obviously COVID hit,
Yeah.
and like many people, I didn't get into the best place in my head, and
Okay.
it really, I was put on furlough, and it really challenged me to look at my life, and I went out to Portugal actually to a surf camp when things started to open up, and I had a really good time. And within like a day, I was organising events and getting people together. And then when I got back to the UK, I just didn't feel like I wanted to be there. So I opened up my laptop, and there was a choice between Santorini and Tenerife.
Okay.
Um, and and I don't know why, but Tenerife, it was not going to get cold in winter. It was going to stay over 22 degrees,
Yeah.
and everything was outside, which was perfect for COVID. And I went there, and I didn't realise, but it's an amazing island. It's not just a party island for 1830s. There's so many different habitats and culture, and the volcano and everything that I fell in love. And then it got to the point where I had the chance to push my Spanish residency through before Brexit. Obviously, it's not a problem for the
Yeah.
Irish, but for
No.
us idiots over the pond, it's a little bit worse.
Yeah.
So I got my Spanish residency, and then I actually set up a marketing company to help, events people market themselves. And
Oh,
I uh, I found that promoting that website, I started running events to get people to run the website, and then loads of remote workers started to come, loads of digital nomads. So people coming from overseas to work for a week, but also for a month, for 6 months, and 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 it just started a thing. And we got a group together, and it kind of formalized a little community. And then my company back in London asked me to go back off of the furlough, off of the
yeah.
pause, and I didn't want to. So I looked at what resources I had, which was this group of remote workers and this
Yeah.
marketing company, and I was like, well, why don't I open an office space? Because there was nothing in the area, and that's how the Zen then was born.
Okay. And what were you
So
doing before you were put on furlough, like before COVID? Like, what was your job?
I was a multinational account manager for a corporate travel firm. So
Okay.
it was a lot of relationship management,
Yeah.
a point of contact between the corporate side of my company and the consultants, and
Yeah.
then the our clients, basically. A lot of negotiation of contracts, hotel rates,
Yeah.
flight rates, all of this kind of thing. Um, it was kind of, yeah, it's a relationship management role, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So kind of led you nicely into kind of setting up a digital nomad kind of events company and co-working.
yeah, and I mean, the digital nomad thing kind of took me back to what I used to do in Australia. I lived there for 7 years, and I used to run backpacker travel agencies, and we
Okay.
used to run a lot of events for them. And it kind of feels like remote workers are a little bit like grown-up backpackers. Uh, they don't go as far, and they have to work, but they still want to have an adventure, and that's what I believe is Tenerife is all about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I suppose there's different sides to it, right? There's people that go to Tenerife on holidays. There's people that go work in the hospitality industry, but then there's people that can, work from a laptop and, move to a sunny location.
Yeah, I mean, Tenerife has such a varied opportunity, especially for Irish people now that British people can't work there.
Yeah,
People are crying out for English speaking workers in Tenerife. from across the board. Like, you know, you have got the people that go work in hospitality. You have got the people that that go there as digital nomads. You have got the people that go there on holiday and just want to do a little bit of work. And it gives such a beautiful lifestyle, especially in winter, compared to, you know, what we get up on, you know, all the crap we get, the rain and all those lovely things.
Yeah, get rid of those dark evenings.
Yeah, you don't get those in Tenerife, I can tell you that.
No, I don't think it gets dark like 7 o'clock in the winter, right? So it's still like pretty
Yeah,
decent compared to like
still
4:30
pretty
back home.
decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if someone is like thinking about, you know, making the move and, you know, they're able to work like, let's say, remotely for a couple of weeks, or they want to go full time as digital nomad, like what steps do you think they should take before deciding to make that move?
I think it's a case of deciding how long you want to do it for, as to what kind of steps you put in place. If you know, we have essentially three levels of remote worker. I mean, everyone talks about the buzzwords digital nomad, but about 2% of the people that work remotely are digital nomads. Digital nomad is a lifestyle choice. It's no fixed abode. It's traveling around. The majority of people are remote workers, which means they have a fixed base, say in Dublin or Cork or somewhere like that, and they work from there and they're taxed there, and then they spend a period of time away from there working remotely for that company, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what we would class as a remote worker. And then you have the workcationer, which is, you know, someone that works and lives in a place, but say they have, I don't know, 5 days of holiday left, but they want to go away for 3 weeks. Then they can use those 5 days of holiday spread over those 3 weeks, but use a co-working space like mine to work in their normal job, but still be at the beach at 5 p.m. You know, that's the balance that it has, is you can still do your job, but you can still have the lifestyle. And it's only 4 hours away by flight. So, you know, it's a kind of like a perfect situation. And the steps that you would take is obviously deciding on the length of stay, because obviously if you're just on a workation, then it's easy enough to book an accommodation. And if you want a separate working space away from the family, so say, you know, your husband's at home with the kids, or your wife's at home with the kids, and you want a degree of separation, then you can book one of the co-working spaces that are on the island, and you can have that. Or you want to keep your hotel room as your hotel room, then you can come to a workspace. Or the other option is you can just work at your hotel room. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it just depends. I'd say it's quite hard though to work in a hotel room. I think you do need that degree of separation, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. Essentially, you know, you can look at the degree of separation. Like I said, it's nice if you've got the kids with you in Tenerife, that you can get up and you can go to the office at 9 o'clock, finish at 5 p.m. and then go home to the kids, and they won't be distracting you and stuff. Or, you know, the internet isn't so good in your Airbnb, and you need to go somewhere to make sure that you can get onto your Zoom meetings. Or, like you said, just the degree of separation, just that change of space to separate, right, this is where I'm having my holiday and this is where I'm still working. So you can make that differential between the two.
And let's say like someone is on holidays, or they're thinking about kind of, you know, making a move over. Do they have to book long in advance to get a desk, or, you know, get a space at a co-working space, or does it take, like, what's the lead-in time?
The thing with remote working in Tenerife is it's very seasonal. So like tourism in Tenerife, we have a high season, which is generally from November till about April. And then at this time of year, in May, is very much low season. So you could essentially turn up at a co-working space today and get a desk. It's not a problem. In the winter, it's a little bit different. There are times in January and February where you're booked out completely. So you want to book a couple of weeks in advance just to reserve that space, basically. But like I said, it's seasonal, and there will always be options. And all of the co-working owners on the island, including myself, always do what they can to accommodate people. So if someone just needs a meeting, then we can slot it in the meeting room, or, you know, it's very flexible on the amount of space you need. And, you know, generally people can get in last minute if they need to. The big thing is booking accommodation in advance, because you know, it's not the cheapest place in Tenerife for accommodation at the moment. You know, we can be quite open about that.
Yeah.
There are new laws being put in by the Canarian government to try to mitigate the costs of the accommodation, which I hope works. But the big thing is generally getting your accommodation sorted quite early if you want to come over here.
Yeah, the accommodation is quite tricky. It's quite expensive. I think, yeah, it's like around kind of 1,200, 1,400 a month for like a 1-bed apartment in
Yeah.
the south of Tenerife. But I suppose, is there like a group where, like, let's say if you wanted to go, you know, be a remote vacationer or, you know, a nomad, is there a group where like people can go to and share accommodation, or is
Yeah,
that something
totally.
that's available?
I mean, about 2 years ago, we formalized the community of remote workers in Tenerife. So we have various resources for people looking to come to Tenerife. We have a huge WhatsApp community, which has 17 subgroups, including an accommodation group, which people can go into and talk to other accommodation owners or find a shared room or find their own space or anything like that. We also have a group on Telegram to do that. So there's various different channels. And the big product that, well, not product, the big thing that we're doing is, with the government support on my end, we're kind of transcending just having the co-working space, and we're building a community project called the Nomads Den, which will be a first point of contact for any type of remote worker, no matter how long you want to stay, to find, you know, all of the resources they need, be that accommodation for short term or long term, but also sustainable accommodation which doesn't hurt the local populace or displace local people or anything like that.
Yeah.
Different co-working spaces in different areas, resources like car hire, you know, surf lessons, tours, trips, excursions, but also, you know, there's the community aspect as well. So if someone is traveling on their own and they don't know people, they can come into the groups, and we run regular events for them to network or find, you know, similar subjects. If someone's interested in crypto, then there's crypto meetups. Similar with AI. If someone's just interested in going for a drink, if someone wants to go and play padel or football or whatever, there's something for everyone in there. So it's essentially going to be a one-stop shop. I mean, for me, having traveled so much in my life, I know the hardest thing is finding support on these things. So that's why I really wanted to build like a community around it. And my 3 words that I base everything on is integration, safety, and socializing. Integrate people not just into, you know, the remote worker community, but also into the island with the expats and the local people to make sure that we have a positive impact. To be safe, so to avoid scams with accommodation, to avoid you know, getting into situations that people don't like, and using trusted people and suppliers for certain things, so, you know, you can have the best experience possible, and socializing, because who doesn't like to socialize? Well,
Yeah.
maybe a few introverts.
Yeah. I don't think there's. I think if you're gonna be a nomad, though, it kind of pushes you out that kind of, you know, being an introvert. It's just, it's not good. It's not gonna work for you.
Yeah,
Well,
you
not that it won't
have
work, but
to-
you'll find it harder, I suppose, to integrate. But I think, like, if you're in a co-working space, people will like push you to come along to different events or whatever.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, a co-working environment is kind of like an office environment at home. I mean, everyone gets on with their work, but the beauty of it is, if you work for someone else, then you've still got people around you working. You still get on with your stuff. If you're working for yourself, then sometimes it's quite hard to motivate yourself because you're just working on your own and there's no one there giving you targets or something. So having a group of people around you,
Yeah.
kind of gives you that motivation to work as well. But on the social side, you might meet someone and say hello to them at the coffee counter, but then, you know, at the end of the week that some after work drinks. So it's kind of like an office environment with that you don't have to be super social there, but you know that if you want to be social and meet people after work, you can see familiar faces from the office, and that's to get to know them on a personal level.
Yeah.
But other than that, people do go for lunch together. You know, my office is 30 seconds away from the beach, so you can be away from your computer and on the beach in a minute, if you want to,
Have
in
a
the middle
lunch.
of
Yeah.
the middle of January. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
It's nuts.
So it is a great option it kind of gives you so much on so many levels. Co-working, it's not just like a room with internet. It is a place to be motivated. It is a place to give you a degree of separation, but it's also a place to help you integrate into, the local community and meet other people as well.
Yeah. How can digital nomads be like more sustainable on the accommodation side of things, or like, people that's going to work for a couple of months, like, because it's the short-term lets that's driving the housing crisis. Like, there's a housing crisis in Ireland as well, but it seems to be a bit more prevalent in Tenerife.
It's the Airbnb conundrum, unfortunately. It's Airbnb in a smaller place, which hasn't got so much demand, is a good thing. Airbnb can be a great tool. In Tenerife, unfortunately, there's Spanish laws that are quite archaic in terms of they were Franco era laws about retention of property and looking after people. So long-term tenancies, if someone goes into an apartment and they decide not to pay rent, then it's very hard to get them out of the apartment.
Okay.
Which means it's a high risk for people who own property to rent long-term, because they have to get a court order to kick them out. So that's number one problem, and that adds to it. Number two problem is all of the investments into property in Tenerife, both internally from residents and externally from foreign people. They buy these properties as an investment, and then they put them onto Airbnb. Now, there is a law in Spain which is like a license that you're meant to have to rent short term, called
I think it's a VV license.
Vivienda Vacación.
Yeah.
And the problem is it's not enforced. So what happens is there's demand for these things, and then people buy these properties and they rent them out short term without this licensing, which is taking away from long-term rents that potentially could go to other people. And because people are paying the prices for these, and it's going up and up and up, is more people are investing for these reasons. And less people are using hotels or purpose-built accommodations for remote workers, because they can just get their own Airbnb. So it's a tricky subject as well, is because a lot of people are buying, it's not just the tourist areas like Costa Rica, Playa Las Americas. People are buying properties in traditionally local areas and then renting them short term, which is pushing local people out, and it's creating animosity for people. So going back to your question about how you can be sustainable, is being about mindful of these subjects, is not paying too much for your accommodation. Checking if the short-term lets on Airbnb are legally allowed to be renting that accommodation, because if you're making that choice, you're not making a negative impact. And if you can, use properties that are built for tourism, like use the hotels. I know it's, feeding a corporate, thing, but actually they're built for this reason. And local people get paid by the hotels. It stops the local people missing out on accommodation. And there's the other thing, which is the co-living projects that are across Tenerife, which are purpose-built properties for digital nomads. They're kind of in, communities that are built into a property where you have your own room, but you have like a shared environment where you can co-work and you can eat. And there's also projects like the Chaleo Hotel in Los Gigantes, which is up in the north of Costa Rica. And that's a 185 bedroom hotel, but it's built for remote workers. There's a co-working space underneath it, so you can have that hotel environment with the pool and the restaurant and everything like that. But you can also have the separation of the space underneath, and it's built for those reasons. So it's more, there's no right or wrong answer. There is no solution to this. It's just about being mindful of your impact on the place, making sure that you're spending money in local restaurants, making sure that the accommodation you're choosing is legally allowed. That's the only thing that can be really done at the moment. And we just hope that the laws that are being put in place actually make a positive impact. And eventually prices will come down. There's no way that it can keep going up like it is. There has to be a period where, and there's a lot of angry people locally as well. So, the local governments have to take action, basically.
How are like remote workers typically received like on the island? Like, is it a positive? Are they received positively, or is there like, a bit of negativity around it?
It's a hard balance. I mean, you would never like community leaders like myself kind of take a bit of the brunt. Like,
Yeah.
If you're sticking around, the major areas, Los Cristianos, Playa Las Americas, you're never going to know any different. Everyone's going to be friendly to you. Everyone's speaking English to you. If you plonk yourself in a local area and start paying over the top for accommodation, so a family has missed out, then you might get a bit of animosity.
Okay.
But even then, it's not like it's visible. The people that are protesting about this, they know that it's not on our level, that we're coming to spend money. They know that it's on a governmental level, and that changes need to be made higher up. And there's loads of aspects. You talk about the increase in accommodation, but that's also an inflation thing. The local people, the local hotels need to start paying their staff more, so they can afford the prices as well. There's so many different aspects that you can see. But overall, when you're in the community and you're going to the events and you're meeting local people and you're going to restaurants, you wouldn't even have a clue that there's any issues at all with it. And remote workers, you have to think, in Tenerife per year, you've got about 5 million tourists from various different nations. In Tenerife per year for remote workers, you've got 30,000 people. Okay, they are staying longer than tourists generally, and there is some crossover of some tourists that come and work, but overall those are pretty good numbers. So our community is a drop in the sea, drop in the ocean compared to the tourism. The only thing that you would have is that remote workers, are tech savvy. They are quite visible on social media, which means they have a bit of a presence. But the Canarian people overall know that, the islands wouldn't survive without tourism.
Yeah, there's a big economic boost there, like we're having the tourists.
It's about a fair balance of a fair distribution of wealth. That's the problem.
Which is fair enough. On the legal aspect of it, like, do you guys have, like, I know, like, if you're going to live in Tenerife, you need to get like what's called like a NIA number, which is basically like a social security number, or PPS number, we would call it. But do you guys help setting up with the NIA number, or let's say, I think now in Spain they have a new visa where you can work remotely once you can prove that you can support yourself for a year in Spain. Do you guys help with kind of getting those visas or obtaining like a NIA number?
So there's different levels. So basically, if you think about who is coming and how long you want to stay for.
Yeah.
If you're on workcation, you don't need to do anything.
No.
You can come, you can go to a co-working space, you can work on your job. It's fine. If you stay for up to 6 months, you don't need to do anything.
Right.
So we're talking about people who are employed in Ireland and coming to Tenerife for a period of time. After 6 months, no matter if you don't want to live in Tenerife long term, you are classified as a Spanish tax resident.
Okay.
And that's when you need to start declaring taxes. That's when you need the NIE. That's when you need to get your tax returns in and everything like that.
Yeah.
If you're, and at that point, then it's a case of getting an NIE, a TIE, which is the level up, which is the full residency, and hiring an accountant to pay your taxes. And yes, we can help with that. The digital nomad visa, really for Irish citizens, there's not really a massive reason why you would need to do that, because you're entitled to live in Spain anyway.
Yeah.
The subsidies on the tax doesn't really give you an advantage over just becoming a normal resident of Tenerife.
Okay.
Basically, if you're American or British, it's a different story.
Okay, that's when the 1 year visa makes sense.
If someone's looking to move here or move to Tenerife and actually work for a Tenerife company, so if they're a game developer, or if they want to work in hospitality, or anything, they'll actually be employed in Spain. It's at that point where you would need to go through the NIE process.
Okay.
The NIE is very, very simple.
Yeah.
I've got people who work with the community who can get it for you easily. It's a case of filling out a form, going to the police station, and then you get the NIE number, basically.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a backlog now in getting the NIE. I think it's maybe like a 3 or 4 week backlog in getting it, from what I've gathered from speaking to the other business owners. But I think, if you're going to be there for like 2 weeks, like take your first 2 weeks as a holiday and then get to the NIE number.
I don't feel like it's something that needs to be done like immediately. Like you can there's a little bit of, with Spanish bureaucracy, I'm not criticizing it, but they know there's a level of time that's going to do it. So I mean, if you get there and you start the ball rolling, then it's not too much of a problem, because what you can do is go to one of the shops or contact someone that helps you with it. It's called, I think it's 769 or so. I can't remember the number of the form, but you can actually get an email address for the local police station and email them to get the appointment booked in, get all your paperwork done, go off, sort the other stuff, and then come back, have the appointment at the police station, and then you pick it up 2 days later.
Yeah. Do you find it's harder to get accommodation without the NIE number, like, or is it like,
It depends on what you're looking for in terms of accommodation. If you're looking for a long-term rental,
Yeah.
It's hard to get it without an NIE number. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're booking something on Airbnb for a month, it's anywhere up to 6 months.
That's when
you don't really need the NIE for anything, really.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get a long-term rental contract, then you're needing the NIE, you're needing an employment contract, you're needing all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because without those, especially without an employment contract, a lot of landlords will ask you to pay 6 months to 12 months up front.
Okay, yeah, so that's something you have to be prepared for then if you're going to make the move. So have the rent money up front.
It's one of those things at the moment, but you do have to pay up front for the rent.
Yeah.
And if you have a good landlord and you understand that and you've saved for it, then it's fine. But there are also issues that you don't want to jump into rentals without meeting someone, without seeing the place, handing over money without taking a set of keys. There is a lot of problems with scams in Tenerife, unfortunately, with property scams. So you have to be mindful of those things as well. Is people never put a deposit down if you haven't met someone, or have a contract, or have some keys, or anything like that, basically.
Yeah. So go meet the estate agent, or at least have a couple of video calls with them before you do, and do it through an estate agent, not through an app.
Yeah, and there is issues with Tenerife. People aren't meant to be charging agency fees anymore. It's actually illegal in Spain. They made it illegal last year, but people still charge agency fees. But unfortunately, it's a necessary evil that you might find that you have to pay an agency fee if you want the accommodation, even though they're not meant to.
Yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22. I suppose it depends on your situation, right? Like if you're under pressure to get accommodation after your 2 week stay initially in a hotel is up, I suppose it just depends. But moving on then, right? So do you have staff then yourself that work for you directly, or?
I have a couple of staff members that work as community managers.
Okay.
Who look after the Zen Den and also help me run the events in the evenings and things like that. Sabrina and Anna, they're both Italian actually. And yeah, they're great girls and stuff. And with the expansion of the community project and the Nomads Den, which will be the resource page for everyone that's remote working, and the possibility of a second space further up the coast, then there'll be more staff needed in terms of community management and taking responsibility for things there. So we should have a good little team coming up, basically.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to recruit, or kind of find staff out there, like when you started looking, or did it just kind of naturally happen?
Kind of naturally happened. I think anyone that shows, for me, anyone that shows initiative and a social aspect and the ability to connect people and make people feel safe,
Yeah.
they kind of show themselves pretty quickly anyway, because they're kind of traits that set you apart from anyone else and stuff. And there's obviously a big difference between the people that just want to come and work with a remote job and also want to find work here. So they kind of stood out for themselves. But it's kind of, for me, it's looking at that spark and seeing, someone who's friendly and trustworthy, and it's not so much about qualifications or anything like that. It's more about, their personality and everything.
Yeah, soft skills is massive, right? Like
Yeah.
just making sure they can kind of have the chats. Did you have to advertise to attract them, or did they were just kind of, were they members of the co-working space and they just kind of approached you?
It was more, I met them at events and they came to
Okay.
me and they said, I love what you do. Sabrina especially, she came to the Friday night events and was like, I want to be part of this. These are my skill sets. I really love connecting people. And she's gone on to, so the opportunities that have come through working with the Nomads Den and the community is she's actually gone to Bulgaria as a community manager. And she's introduced herself to international clients, and now she's hosting a retreat in Mallorca in September.
All
So,
right, brilliant.
the world of community management is, it opens a lot of doors, because there's a skill set that you need where you want to look after people and you want to organize, and that I feel is actually dying. So if you have those skills, then there's lots of opportunities for you if you want to graft a little bit.
Yeah, class. And if you're taking someone to like come work for you, would you just kind of trial them, or would you interview them, or how would it work for you?
For me, yeah, it's about having them around, actually.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I interview people as much. It's about, I'm happy to give people free space at the co-working, give them opportunities to run events, and see how they do. And honestly, if someone doesn't do well, then the community tell me pretty quickly.
Complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't just have my opinion, you have 7,000 people
Yeah.
doing and throwing, and 100 people at the event who notice what you're doing very quickly, because the person that's hosting the event is generally the face of it, and what they do is very visible.
Yeah.
That's why I always have to be on my best behavior.
I know I think I've been to one or two of the events, but what are the events like? What happens at the events? Like, what's the breakdown? What are they for? Do they have different teams, or?
You have different events for different reasons, really. I mean,
Okay.
as part of the integration and the social and the safety, is, for me as a community leader, it's important that there's at least one event a week in the community that is just about getting the community together. And that's not just the people that come to my co-working, that's people that go to any co-working, that's people who sit at home. It's about bringing people together and just having drinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of events, it's always better to have a paid event, even if it's a low amount to join, because that just means that you're attracting the right people.
Yeah.
Because no one is going to pay for an event if they don't really want to go. Whereas if it's a free event, you might have people go, just go along anyway, or they won't turn up and there's no commitment and stuff like that. So it's important to have a little paid event every week, €5 to get in, or whatever, because it just guarantees that it will all be like-minded people who actually want to go to the event. So you'll often see, low cost events within my community, and it's not a factor of me wanting to make money out of it. It's a factor of making sure that they're the right people that are going and everything like that. But there's also other events. So you'll have the specialist events. So you'll have like the bachata dancing, Latin dancing, which is where we get involved with culture. You'll have the board games nights, which we usually try to generate money for charity to kind of give back to different places. And then you'll have like the professional events. So you'll have the entrepreneurs evenings, which will have various subjects. You'll have the crypto meetups, you'll have the AI meetups. And then we also, try to inspire people to have community-led events. So for instance, the hiking group, which, is free hiking for everyone. And that attracts about 50 people a week. So
Okay, yeah, it's pretty decent.
for these big hikes and things. So very much if there's demand for something, then we'll try to kind of fulfill it.
Yeah, and if someone wants to go on one of these events or like join the hiking group, like what steps do they have to take? Where can they find the page to book into the events? Or
It's simple. You can go to the Zen Den website and click on the community events. It leads you into the WhatsApp group community, and the WhatsApp community has an announcements page, and then it has 18 subgroups for different reasons. So you'll have the hiking group, you'll have the entrepreneurs group, you'll have the engineers group, you'll have the socials group, and you can request to join which ones that you want. And when the Nomads Den platform is released in August, we'll take that to a different level. So the WhatsApp groups will be refined, and you'll be able to find them through SEO content just by searching for, remote workers Tenerife. And then you'll be able to request to join the group. You can answer questions about how long you're going to be staying in Tenerife, what your interests are, and then you go into the WhatsApp groups, and then again you can just request which ones that you want, and all the events are put in there basically.
yeah, cool. So even if like you're a solo traveler and maybe you're not a nomad or you're just on holidays and you're a solo traveler, you could kind of join the hiking group and head off on a hike with different
Of course, yeah.
like-minded people. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're still a backpacker or you're an expat or you work in hospitality, it's not like we just say no, just digital nomads.
Yeah.
If you want to be part of the community and you want to join up and enjoy it, then it's there for you basically.
Okay, brilliant. Very fast. And then your co-working space then, like you said, it's in a decky. You just zenden.com. That's where you kind of book your space.
ZenDenTenerife.com. Yeah, it's open from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. To cater for kind of all hours, and it can be booked online. When someone books online, they get a code, they can go into the space, use all the facilities. We've got a shower, we've got an outdoor terrace, we've got a meeting room included in the price. Tea, coffee, water is all included, and yeah, people can just use the space for whatever they need. If they've got early meetings or they have to work on US hours in the evening, then we kind of cater for everyone.
And look, lastly, then, would you recommend Tenerife like as a destination for remote workers?
Oh
I think the
yeah.
answer is clear.
Last year I would have said yes, 100%. This
Okay.
year there are a couple of issues that we need to iron out, but I think there's a couple of issues with the world that everyone needs to iron out. So you still have the sun, you still have the beautiful weather over winter, you still have the short flight, you still have the cheap flights, and it's still an affordable location even though the prices have gone up. And there is a community that's welcoming, that wants to integrate people, that will help you. So yeah, it has all the resources that anyone would need to want to go and remote work, and I can't honestly think of any better place in Europe for winter if you want to get away and do some work overseas.
Yeah, it's a great location, and you'll never be bored. It's like I'll go 7 days a week.
Yeah, there's always something, especially in winter. Like we have, there were weeks where we had 10 or 11 events in 7 days, which was just crazy.
Yeah, so you're out the door. So there's something for everyone.
Yeah, and especially also for solo female travelers, any better place. We have the Lionesses female entrepreneurs community, which adds a different level of safety and security. Is that you can go into the female group, feel secure and safe as a solo female traveler, and then transcend to the other community and have a group of people that you already know as well.
Okay, yes, that's a good kind of stepping stone in to kind of ease you into the remote working lifestyle. Is like obviously like if companies as well like wanted to kind of go on like a company retreat, like that's something that you guys could facilitate like for like a week or whatever, like co-working space.
Yeah, we've averaged 2 or 3 a year. So we had a big German company called Citizen Circle come over and do a corporate retreat at the Zen Den, and we helped them find accommodation. And then in November this year, we've got a Czech company coming over, and we found them a villa, and then they're using the co-working space. And obviously with the new co-working space that might open, you know, we're going to have all those rooms above it, which will be a perfect location for corporate retreats. And I also work with a big company in Gran Canaria who have a lot of options for corporate retreats in both Tenerife and Gran Canaria. So even if it's not the Zen Den, then we can find options for people who want to bring their company over, be it a group of 5 people or a group of 90 people. There'll be something for everyone.
Yeah, all right, brilliant. Grand. Do you have anything else, or are you happy enough?
Don't know. I mean, like I said, you know, the community is being taken to the next level with what we so the Zen Den is the co-working space, and the Nomads Den will be the community resource website. And once that launches, honestly, you're going to have a one-stop place where you can go. You can find out about. We're going to list all of the details about potential scams. You know what to look for, cost of living estimates, but also access to the different co-workings, access to the different accommodations, and generally a community resource site with blogs and opinions and everything like that as well.
Yeah, and even if you're thinking about it or you're on holidays, like you just pop to one of the events on a Friday evening, I think they normally are, right? Have a chat with yourself or someone else from the team, and then, you know, maybe in the winter months, then, you know, head back for 3 weeks remote working.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, that sounds good. Right. Thanks very much, Roy.